Okay, welcome. It's time to get started. Let's do that. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight, here in the live audience as well as in the broadcast audience. Good to have you. I'm Dr. Doug Kelley. Tonight on the program we have Dr. Norman Wilson returning to speak, and I'll give his topic in just a minute. The Spirit of Life Service is an educational program of the International Church of Metaphysical Humanism. We explore spirituality and science and enhance the human condition and empower the human spirit. Good stuff, right? Absolutely good stuff. So that's our goal. As far as the program tonight, I'll be talking about free will and the law of control. And as I mentioned, Dr. Norman Wilson will be talking about the steps to spiritual contentment, and he'll be Skyping in from Washington State. After we have our two presentations, we'll do some announcements, and we will do our guided meditation and then get into our Enspirit forum where you can share impressions, thoughts, get a card pull and inner oracle cards. We'll do those, and Dr. Hunter will be joining me for that portion of the program as well. Let's go over our abbreviated principles of belief. The first one is do no harm, do right, the foundation of everything. Number two, we believe in the indomitable power of the human spirit. The answers we seek already exist within us. Number three, we believe that we alone are responsible for and capable of solving human social problems. And number four, got ahead of myself. Number four, we are all equal, one planet, one race, one ancestry, one destiny. Number five, we recognize and honor the divine energy that exists in all living things. Number six, we are physical and spiritual beings. Consciousness survives death of the physical body. Number seven, self-acceptance, self-responsibility, and respect for free will creates self-completeness. Number eight, metaphysical education and practical life skills empower the human spirit and enhance the human condition. Number nine, the expanding human consciousness leads to human evolution and peaceful coexistence. And if you'd like to read and review the full list of principles of belief, you can find those at metaphysicalhumanism.org. So that's that. Let's also pull a inner oracle card to serve as a theme for tonight. I already shuffled the deck, and for those who are joining us for the first time, these inner oracle cards are self-discovery cards. They're not tarot cards. They're designed to get you to think, and they include probably all of our teachings in one way or another. So I'm just going to pull a card at random. The card is wild card number 3. It's blocks. Blocks. So as we go through the program tonight, keep that in mind. Is there something blocking you? Maybe something that we mentioned tonight. Maybe there's a block there, and it can be a block to anything. It can be a block to your success in anything. Anything could be relationships, career, anything in life. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Wild card number 3, blocks. So we'll get back to these in our Enspirit forum. And Dr. Hunter, I'm sure, will comment on that as well. So let's talk about free will and the law of control. The dictionary defines free will as the power of making free choices that are unconstrained by external circumstances or by an agency such as fate or divine will. That's from dictionary.com. We all pretty much know what free will is. Do what you want, when you want, if you want, kind of a thing. It means we can just choose our actions, and that's free will. There's another aspect of this that you may or may not be familiar with. Not everybody believes that we have free will. Maybe you've heard of that before. There is a philosophy called determinism that basically rejects free will. Determinism can get pretty deep in more ways than one, and it basically says that everything that is there because it was essentially preordained, predestined. Everything, you know, humans cannot be causal agents. We cannot cause anything. The way we are was predetermined already by the universe or whatever. The universe was predetermined. Everything we do was predetermined. Our personality, our behavior, and if you start thinking about that a little bit, you start seeing some moral implications in that. Determinism is, and I'll hit more on this, but determinism is almost like a religion. It takes faith to believe in. And there's tons of moral implications, and that's what I want to go over. These are some of my own moral and ethical problems with determinism, and I'm not alone in my feelings on these. These are not all there are, but these are just a few handful that I'm going to talk about tonight. And it all bears on free will. Do we really have it or not? Well, if you're a determinist, the answer is no. We don't have free will. And essentially, where do you find these determinists? That's a good question, isn't it? You find them a lot in the scientific community. Perhaps you've heard of dualism, idealism, and materialism. Those are different philosophies as well, and they're all metaphysical in nature. Dualism, you're probably very familiar with. We have a dual nature about us. We are physical and spiritual. That's dualism, really. Idealism basically believes, idealists believe that none of this is real. It's all fabricated by our consciousness. That's idealism. Materialism basically posits that this is all we get. There is nothing beyond what you see right here and now. There is no paranormal. There is no life after death. There is nothing supernatural. There's no, what you see is what you get. When you die, you're dead. That's it. And materialism is believed in a lot by the scientific community, especially those in scientism. And scientism is simply devout scientists, I guess, is good a word for anything, because it's pretty much a religion too, if you ask me. So not everybody, not all scientists believe this, but a lot of them do, and it's kind of the going thing. And maybe we're getting out of that a little bit now, but materialists are determinists. That's it. You know, what you see is what you get. Everything's here because it was predetermined. And so there's some problems with that. Let's get into the first one. Determinism, these are my moral issues with determinism. Determinism invalidates self-responsibility or personal responsibility. It teaches that people do what they do because of natural laws and are incapable of doing anything different. Think about that for a minute. Basically says that you are the way you are, predetermined, and you can't change. You know, if you're a serial killer, that was predetermined too. And and they go on that we need to get rid of the prisons and have hospitals because these people who do this stuff, who murder other people, well, they can't help it. You know, they can't help it. It was predetermined. And so we need to help them get healthy. But then that seems to counteract the very philosophy of determinism, because if it's all preordained, then how can you change? Well, then they'll say, well, that part was preordained too. So you can see that it's beginning to fall apart already. So, you know, if you're a murderer, like Hitler, for example, it was preordained. He is what he was, and that was the thing. So he doesn't have to be accountable, does he? Here's a second one. Determinism invalidates the individual and relegates humanity to subhuman animals, essentially, because we can't think for ourselves, right? We can't change. Determinism is detrimental to self-esteem because it places human beings on the same level as any other animal or object, inanimate object for that matter. It denies the unique power of the human spirit to rise above adversity and obstacles. And yet we see that all the time, don't we? People rise above that stuff. But of course, that could be predetermined too. One hard determinist, as I call them, by the name of Gordon M. Orloff in his book, whatever, by the name of Where's the Free Will? An Exploration of this Elusive Concept. He writes, I call one who believes in free will a meist. A meist. For this view is about the triumph of me over all causes. You know, so basically he's now starting to put you down. You can't have a healthy self-esteem. You can't focus on you. It's not about you. You know, and I think he's, and I haven't read the context of this, but you know, it sounds like he's saying, you know, going to the narcissistic. Everybody's a narcissist if you believe in free will. Well, no, that's not true. He has no idea just how much he revealed about his own mental health in that short derogatory sentence. He obviously has deep self-esteem issues to the point where he is projecting his own self-denigration onto others by implying that it's somehow improper to value oneself or triumph over other causes like adversity. You know, he's found a philosophy that feeds and sustains his own sense of self-worth. So as a determinist, he's basically saying, oh, you're just focused on you. It's all about you. Well, you know, honestly, it's all about me, and it's all about you, and it's all about us. And we have to take care of ourselves, otherwise we don't survive. You see that even in the animal kingdom, do you not? Everybody has to, and humans are probably the one big group who doesn't follow that. They're, you know, in a lot of ways, there's many people who are dysfunctional or unhealthy in that. They want to help other people to their own detriment. That's called codependence. You know, I'll shoulder the problems of the world to my own detriment. I'll suffer, you don't have to. That's not healthy. Nobody has to suffer if we don't want to. If humans are nothing more than the product of a universal machine, as determinists believe, then there's nothing unique about us at all. We're simply one more cog of the machine, and yet we inherently know that humanity is unique and special among all known life forms. Doesn't mean that it's all about us again, but we are a special life form, just like any life form is. Special in our own right, right? Any sentient, sapient life form, alien, whatever, is unique. And it's relevant, and it's special in its own right. Just like each one of us are special in our own right. We talked about perfection. We're perfect. Nobody can be more perfect at being us than we are. So that's the second one. It invalidates the individual. It puts us down. Don't like it. Number three, the third problem I have with it, determinism denies that humans are causal agents. To say that humans cannot create or cause an action is frankly preposterous. It's ridiculous, and yet that's what determinists say. You know, it's pretty offensive to any thinking person that we can't cause things to happen. You know, right now I am speaking from a podium to a group of people here and abroad. You know, I think I chose to do that. And you chose to be here, right? Could have been somewhere else. Of course, they would say that this was all preordained too. You know, it's discussing some of this stuff with a determinist is almost like, you know, a religionist trying to convince an atheist that there's a God. It just ain't going to happen. You know, and vice versa. It ain't going to happen. Another interesting, related to this, determinists believe that everything in the inanimate universe is caused by some other inanimate thing. Everything we do is caused by inanimate things rather than thoughts. When saying that, it violates their own thinking. It violates the law of causation because the human mind is capable of meaningful causation. We all know that. So I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I want you to understand that there are philosophies out there that are every bit as messed up as any of the religious philosophies, and they're included too. Here's a fourth point. Determinism is fatalistic because it not only removes hope of making this life any better, it also removes hope of life after death. You know, without proof, it's just, well, I don't think free will exists. Really? Well, what's your proof? I just don't think it exists. Okay, what's your proof? just don't think it exists. And that's about where we're at with determinism, and yet people buy into this stuff. And I'm still trying to figure out who makes this stuff up, who comes up with this stuff. But it's out there. If you want to look into determinism, look it up online. Go to Wikipedia. It'll tell you all about it. There's just too much compelling evidence for life after death to ignore. It's just like the people who don't believe in spirits, don't believe in UFOs or aliens. Oh, no, that stuff's just, that's a bunch of nut jobs that believe in that stuff. Don't you know that? Right. There's too much compelling evidence to ignore it by credible witnesses. We can't just ignore that. No open-minded scientist or metaphysician who is looking for the truth, looking for answers, can ignore it in good conscience. They can't. And so the people who just naysay this stuff, put it down, they're showing who they are. They're showing their own narrow-minded belief system. They're not thinking. And I'm not saying you got to believe in everything that comes down the pike. We have to think for ourselves, don't we? We have to test it out. What are the facts, and what do those facts tell us? And we keep asking that question until we figure out some answers. So let's talk about the practical nature of free will. So I've explained at this point what determinism is. It's kind of complicated, and you don't probably want to understand it anyway. Who does? But it's out there. Let's talk about the practical nature of free will. For anything to be useful or practical, it's got to be grounded and meaningful. That's something that I preach about all the time. This also applies to free will. The determinists will say, well, you can't do anything you want. Well, I can. Well, you can't go jump off a building and fly like a bird, can you? Not without the proper equipment. So they're saying, well, then free will doesn't exist. Now we're getting into the realm of silliness and ridiculousness. All right, here's the way we look at free will. You go to a restaurant. You arrive at your table, and what do they put in front of you? A menu. So you can order your dinner, right? Well, if you're in a Chinese restaurant and you want barbecue, it might be a problem, right? Because it's not on the menu. So if I want to go and jump off a building and flap my arms and fly, it's not going to work. Why? It's not on the menu. Not built for that. A bird, on the other hand, can, right? So we don't want to get ridiculous with this stuff. Basically, we can do anything we want unless there's some physical, policy, legal reason why we can't. Moral reason why we can't, right? If it's on the menu, we can do it. Now, the problem is a lot of people don't think that it's on the menu, but it is. You ever talk to somebody, well, you know, have you ever thought about doing this? Oh, I couldn't do that. Well, have you ever thought about doing this? No, I'm not smart enough. You ever thought about doing that? No, I'm not educated enough. Well, it's on the menu. They're not seeing it. So, the card that we pulled tonight, blocks. Wild card number 3. Blocks. Think about that. Look at the menu of your options in life. You have free will. You can do about anything you want, provided it's on the menu. And there's a lot on that menu. Make sure you read the menu. And don't write yourself off. Because that's essentially what people will do. I can't do that. I don't want to hear all the reasons why you can't. I want to hear all the reasons why you can. That's better, isn't it? You know, don't tell me I can't do anything. That gets me going. So now you know how to get me going. Tell him he can't do it. So don't be foolish with this whole thing. Make sure you read the menu. Now, how does this all come back to the law of control? We talked about free will, determinism, free will, and the law of control. We've got to factor that in because that's what it's all about. The law of control is simple. It simply states you cannot control or change other people. Stop trying. Who can we control? Ourselves, right. So, when it comes to free will, we control what we can and let go of the rest. It's not a hard concept, and yet many people will continue to try to control others even when they've been told this. So right now, in your relationships especially, if you are trying to control the other person or change them into something you would like better, stop it. Really. You're trying to control something that you cannot control or change. It will never work. Oh, the other person might change for a time, but then there will be resentment. The other person won't feel comfortable being who they are. Boils down to this, folks. Accept people for who they are. If you cannot accept somebody for who they are, then don't be in a relationship with them. Nobody said you had to. Remember free will? You have the free will, the moral right of free will, to choose who you want to be in relationships with. And it can be any kind of relationship, whether it's a work relationship, an employment relationship, an intimate relationship, a friendship. You can choose. If you're in a relationship that's not going anywhere, that's not good energy or not uplifting, or it's dragging you down, whatever, you can not be in that relationship. The way to decide, two most important relationship questions. First question, what do I add or subtract from this relationship? Make your list, pros and cons, make your list. Second question, what does the other person add or subtract from this relationship? Make your list, pros and cons. You can even tally them up if you want, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, each item. Tally them up. Anytime somebody is not willing to change, if you got a problem with somebody and they're doing something in a relationship that's not good, anytime they don't want to change, the relationship's over. You can leave that relationship. Just because it's family does not matter. Anytime somebody takes more than they give and they're unwilling to change, the relationship is over. Let it die. Period. So what? That's the next question. So what? We talked about all this stuff now. So what? Free will and control, healthy control now, are beautiful aspects of life. What are we doing with them? We've got to take care of ourselves first, and then we can help other people. We have to manage our day-to-day lives. We have to manage our free will, manage our control. So, what are we doing to do that, to manage our own lives, to manage our own self-control or our own control, our own free will? Are we blocking ourselves? That's the first question to ask. How can we become even freer in life? And then once we've answered that, now what are we doing to add to the wood pile? How are we part of the solution rather than the problem? We have the free will to live our lives as we see fit, provided it's on the menu, right? If we choose to include or not include certain individuals in our life, that's up to us. It's our choice, and we're entitled to that choice by nature of free will. So I hope that some of these points have resonated with those of you here and out there. Some situation, maybe it's a relationship that's blocking you. And it could be any kind of relationship, anything, as I mentioned. Think about what that is and think about how you can have more respect for your own free will. Read the menu, go out and happen to life. Don't let life happen to you. Okay, let's move on then to our next speaker. Dr. Norman Wilson, he's returning. He's been with us several times. And here's a general statement, not directed at anyone in particular. While we are always interested in new and different perspectives, the views of our guest speakers do not necessarily represent the views of the International Church of Metaphysical Humanism. Now, Dr. Norman Wilson has a doctorate in the humanities. I'm sure you remember, if you're new, first time here, you'll want to know this. He holds the position of Professor Emeritus at Polk State College in Winter Haven, Florida. He is the author of a dozen books and over 300 articles published on the internet, ranging from Buddhism to education to shamanism. Dr. Wilson is a certified Reiki master and a member of the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. His website is shamanicmysteries.com. He is speaking to us tonight via Skype from his home in Washington State. His topic, The Steps to Spiritual Contentment. Dr. Wilson, good to have you back.
My last appearance here, I talked about my feelings in terms of a lack of provision for a personal spiritual contentment, excuse me. And I felt that organized religions did not provide for us to have that contentment. I also chastised the hippie movement because I felt that they were ego-based. And I also stated that spirituality is a very personal experience. It isn't a group thing. I also told you that there was an ultimate secret of all secrets, and that was you have to love yourself first. If you don't, there isn't a possibility for you to be spiritually content. I also said that spirituality involves connecting to and realizing we are all part of the natural world, of the creation, and of the cosmos itself. Okay, so you have a right to ask me, are there clues that might suggest that you are a spiritual being? Yes, there are. For example, do you enjoy watching a sunrise in the morning, a sunset in the evening, or looking up at a sky full of stars and winking back at them? If you do, you probably are a spiritual person. Are you generally happy? Generally happy. If so, you probably are spiritual. Do you pitch in and help when help is needed? Do you have a sense of serenity about yourself? If so, you probably are spiritual. Do you respect all life? Do you respect spirituality in others? And finally, do you laugh at yourself as others laugh with you? You're spiritual. You might then ask me, are there steps that you can take to have spiritual contentment? Such as the 12 steps to spiritual contentment, the 7 steps to spiritual elevation, or the 5 steps to spiritual rejuvenation. Any indication that there are such programs, I think, are self-defeating. It defeats the whole purpose of a spiritual experience. However, if you ask me if there are things that you can do to create the potentiality for a personal spiritual contentment, my answer to you is a resounding and very loud yes, there are. At the same time, I hesitate to list or describe such things because of our tendency to over-organize. If I say first, then second is expected, and a third, and a fourth, and so on. That systematizes the potentiality, and any effort to systematize spiritual experience creates a limitation of it ever happening. It just won't. So whatever you do, keep it simple. You don't need incense and perfumed bath water and scented candles and mood music. You don't need black lights or gyrating globes. Those kinds of things create a false atmosphere, Hollywoodish in its nature. It becomes a stage. And a stage is for acting. Stage is for acting. The act then becomes the focus. That becomes the focus. There's an old story. It's been around a long, long time. I would like to share it with you at the risk of you having heard it before. There are two men. Both are philosophers. One is a Western philosopher and one is an Eastern philosopher. They were out for a walk one evening, and on their path they came upon a single wild flower, and they stopped and admired the flower. The Westerner bent over and picked it. The Eastern philosopher said to him, "I would not have picked it." The Westerner said, "Well, why not?" The Easterner replied, "Because I would have left it there so we could have admired it on our return walk." If you're admiring a beautiful sunrise or a beautiful sunset or a beautifully moonlit night, and you stop and say how beautiful it is, you have picked the flower. Think about it. You've broken the magic, destroyed the moment. That moment of potential spiritual experience, the joy of being content in the spiritual world. American poet Ralph Waldo Emerson put it this way. He said, "What lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you." Think about that. Inside of you, there it is. Look at each thing on your walk through life. Each animate and inanimate thing has something unique. Let it become a part of you. No two stones are alike, any more than two people are alike, even so-called identical twins. And as you become involved in the uniqueness of that which is around you, all judgment will fade away. You won't have to say it's beautiful, it's wonderful. The tendency to say something is good or beautiful will no longer be a part of your brain pattern. The experience will just be suspended in a moment of time with you. With you. Now, as you wake each morning, and before getting out of bed, stop and think about the wonder that is your physical body. Take a few minutes. It won't hurt. It really is unique, isn't it? Pretty spectacular. The very dust of the stars came together to create that physical body of yours. And if you listened to me one time before when I was here, I said that the air molecules exhaled by Christ, and now I add the Buddha, Zoroaster, or Mithra, have all been inhaled by you. And you have shared every breath that every living thing has ever exhaled since the beginning of time. Now, if that's not unique, I don't know what is. German philosopher Hegel reminds us that nature is spiritual, and spirituality is nothing less than nature fully developed in us. As such, spirituality has everything to do with passion, passion for life. It embraces love, trust, reverence, wisdom. Spirituality is the specific, thoughtful love of life, an expression of the self, all embracing. Yet we must realize spirituality is not a matter of whether you believe it or not. It is. It's a way of viewing the world, interacting with it, and with all living things, as well as the non-living things. Some may think it's the idea of spirituality is strange because it requires action as a part of its very essence. It's a mode of appreciation, of doing as well as thinking, of feeling. That's proactive. Unfortunately, we tend to make things more difficult. So contentment is basically no different. We tend to make it more complicated than it is by creating endless rituals to ensure it, none of which are necessary. Spirituality is self-actualizing, that it comes into being by believing in its existence. It generates spiritual contentment. So we adopt a framework that's experiencing, that allows us experiences that we may not have thought of before, the possibilities. In a previous talk here, I discussed love and trust. I want to now add reverence. And when combined with love and trust, we have the very essence of spirituality, which then gives us our passion for the power to transform our lives. And isn't that wonderful to be able to do that? Yes, it is. Just as it requires love and trust, spirituality requires reverence. It complements love and trust, the recognition that one must respectfully recognize the divine in another, as well as the natural world. It is important to note that spirituality is not a self-dismissive or self-abandoning leap on some quantum thing into the cosmos to make a connection. It begins with a very concrete sense of self. And I told you the secret, the ultimate secret, was love yourself. That's very important. I would like to conclude this evening with a quote by Houston Smith, who is a foremost scholar of religion and philosophy in the United States. He says, when man reverses his gaze from upward and looks inward, his value imagery likewise transposes. It turns over. Within man, the best lies deepest, right in there. It's basic, fundamental, the ground of all our beings. All the levels of reality are within man. For microcosm reflects or mirrors macrocosm. Man reflects the infinite. And I would like to add, man does all of this because he is spiritual. And I say to each of you, namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. appreciate your thoughts and everything you said. I appreciate the change your gaze from upward to inward. That's a good one. And I'm going to cancel my perfumed bath for later tonight. Anyway, appreciate your time, and I look forward to having you on again. You have a good evening. All right, let us do some announcements, and then we're going to get into our Enspirit forum. Announcements, thanks as always for previous donations. Your donations always help to keep things going. We appreciate that very much. There's a number of ways you can make donations online on the web page that you're on. There's a donation button on our website. There is. You can also make donations simply by enrolling in the IMHS degree program, where we offer bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees. So you can get an education in metaphysics and metaphysical humanism as well, and at the same time help to support not only the church but the school too. There's also and that's metaphysicsinstitute.org. There's also ICHS, which is ICHSworld.org for standalone courses. Another good way to take a class and make a donation at the same time. If you're interested in joining ICMH, the church, as a associate member, kind of a friend of the church, you can do that at metaphysicalhumanism.org. And as a member, you also get to register for oneplanetcommunity.com, which is our private Facebook-like network. I do want to make a big announcement too, at least for this moment. We're going to be taking a hiatus during the month of July, so we will not be doing any broadcasts during the month of July. We'll be back on August 5th, which is Wednesday, same time. And I'll post on the websites and send out an email when we're going to be coming back. Just need to take some time to regenerate, regroup, and come back. All right. And I apologize, I've had sinus stuff going on today, and I feel like I want to sneeze, but I won't sneeze on y'all. But I'm sniffly. All right, didn't put that out. Okay. Because of our time constraints, I'm going to forego the guided meditation. Sorry. Let's we'll bring Dr. Hunter on, and we'll get into our Enspirit forum. So if anyone has a comment or anything here that you'd like to share, I'm all ears. If you'd like a card drawn, we can do that too. You have a question? Forum. So if anyone has a comment or anything here that you'd like to share, I'm all ears. Okay. Hold on a sec. We'll get our stuff in a group. Okay, we're waiting for Dr. Hunt. Go ahead.
Okay, the oracle card blocks. Could that also stand for building blocks, where you're building blocks to something, or is it just blocking?
The question is, the card that we drew tonight on blocks, wild card number 3, Phyllis wants to know, is it just blocks that prevent you, or could it be building blocks? And my answer is, it means what it means to you. So if it means building blocks to you, then that's what it means. That's what these things are designed to get you to do, is to think just like that. Dr. Hunter, welcome. Good to see you.
Hello, everyone. I even remembered to turn off the player. I had the same thing as Dr. Wilson going on here. I went, uh-oh. I think, well, I've got a little delay function going on here tonight. Blocks is, any kind of a word conjures an imagery, and it means what it means to you, simply. But I think, what we tried to construct into the little booklet is there's a time for movement and there's a time to sit still. So I think that's something to remember. If you're not feeling your intuition moving, you're not feeling it, you can see that block actually as an opportunity, that it just means sit still for a minute. Because in here it says, what may seem like a block could be an opportunity to reevaluate while allowing the universe to open new doorways. So that's something to consider. A wonderful teacher of mine once said that we all want a green light. We're traveling through town, going through all the intersections, and we all want the green light. So we think we can visualize and, project, and we got all kinds of tricks. We can project into the little box that's going to turn the light green for us. Well, here's the deal. Everybody else wants a green light too, and they're all coming from the other ways. So sometimes we have to be able to, slow down at the yellow and stop at the red, wait for the other traffic to go, and then wait our turn, because the light will turn green and we'll know that. If you're getting too many blocks, then it might be time to just say, well, maybe I should go a different direction. So you have your own formula of what that would be. So anybody who's listening out there that kind of resonates with you, then that is the theme of our evening. And it's kind of appropriate too that we're taking a month off, because we're doing much the same thing. It's not because we're feeling blocks. We're just feeling that we want to reevaluate, reassess, and come back fresh. So blocks is appropriate.
That ties into free will too. There's give and
Absolutely.
take. Everything's give and take, right? Reasonable give and take. So you can't always have the green lights, because that would mean somebody else always has the red lights, right?
Absolutely.
I don't like it any more than you do, but that's the way it is, okay? All right, anyone here care for a card, or anyone in the chat room want a card? Karen, would you like me to do it, or do you want to do it? She's coming up. Okay. That's interesting. The card is number 35. It's service to self and others, suit, one planet, one race, one ancestry, one destiny. Did you get this last week? Have you gotten this one before?
I've gotten it before, but it wasn't last week. And I've picked it before over there.
Interesting, huh? Interesting. So that, whatever it means to you. I mean, it's obviously we're talking about how we're all connected. We're all the same. We're all entitled to good things in life, the same as anyone else, no more, no less. We all came from star material, star stuff. And that's empowering, really. We're made from stuff of stars, and we can do anything. Free will, let's factor that in with removing blocks and whatever it means to you. Good card.
Mm-hmm. Great card.
All right. Do we have anybody in chat that wants one?
We have Tracy.
Okay, and I know you want one, right? All right, Tracy.
Tracy.
I'm compelled to take this one on the end. It's number 23 in spirituality, and the face value is meaning and purpose. Meaning and
Oh,
purpose.
I don't know if we've had that card.
I don't think we have either.
No. Well, this is a great one to read. So for Tracy, specifically, but others may well kind of feel this connects too. The meaning of life is built upon values and beliefs and remains constant. The purpose of life is the action plan for the meaning of life. The purpose can change. A sense of purpose always evolves. The question is not what is the purpose of life, rather what it is more about what's the purpose of my life. So you gotta think about that. Rather than looking at the big cosmic thing, it's just what's the purpose of my life. True fulfillment comes when embracing your heart's desire with both meaning and a renewed sense of purpose to fulfill that meaning. This card can also relate to the meaning or purpose of a specific situation or the lack thereof. So that, I think this is a really important point. You know, we were talking about free will before also, and I think it just connects beautifully that, you know, it is what it is to each of us. And whatever the meaning of life, we build purpose of life, and we all need to feel that sense of purpose. So, and even if you're doing a task, what is the purpose of that task? And is it a time to stop, move forward? You know, so feeling your way through that. So I think it's a great card to pull.
It does fit nicely with what we've been talking about tonight. All right, Ed, you want to pick one? Or you want me to pick one?
Hands width from the right.
From the right, from hand width like this. Okay, it's at the end of my thumb. It's card number 3, self-acceptance suit. Be who you are, walk your own path. I think we pulled this one before too. Be who you are, walk your own path.
That fits tonight too. You are uniquely designed, one of a kind, universal being, equally entitled to all good things, the same as others. Drawing this card, encourages you to be who you are and to walk your own path, not comparing yourself with others. Give yourself permission to accept who and what you are. Move forward in the direction you need to take that best fulfills yourself. So if that has any significance to you at this time, then that's great. Just be you.
All right, thanks. And you, Michael, you said we have 3 in chat now?
Next is Darlene.
Darlene, I just shuffled the cards. 3 cards fell out there for the next 3 people. That can't be right. It's card number 3, the one we just pulled. I shuffled them. 3 cards fell off the top. Maybe I didn't shuffle them very well. But it's be who you are, walk your own path. It could be my own glitch, or it could have been designed that way. I don't know. At least it should get you thinking. Same thing as Dr. Hunter said. And if you want us to pull another one, Darlene, you can just ask, and we will do that. Who's next? Buddy?
We have Jenny.
Jenny? Jenny, the next card is for you, which is 41. Card number 41 is communication. It's in the life skills suit, communication. Big subject, obviously, and a lot of things that you've been learning in the study material in the bachelor's courses. Lack of communication will kill any relationship. So if you want a relationship to die, stop communicating. If you don't want it to die, start communicating. Dr. Hunter, any comments on that?
Well, I might add that it's communication is with your higher self also. It's not just about your relationship with people and how you communicate. It's how you communicate with yourself. And it does reflect your spiritual evolution in a way. So it's when you pull this kind of a symbol, it's just that little tiny reminder about how am I communicating? Am I more conscious of communicating? And, okay, it's coming out this way to the world, but it's also this way to myself. So a clarity of words and intent, and I love this, is say what you mean and mean what you say. Those kinds of questions that you can ask yourself when you draw this kind of a symbol. It's pretty big, I think. It's a good one.
Okay, good. Thanks. And the next one, Zach. Your card is number 14, Energy Shift, New Chapter in the Existential Suit. Energy Shift, New Chapter. Pretty much what it says.
Love that one for Zach. Energy shifts are a natural result from increased awareness, knowledge, and new attitudes that naturally open new chapters in one's life. It's an excellent time to clarify your vision during this time of shifting energy. Reflect, gather your energy, breathe, and step forward with a renewed sense of direction. Out with the old, in with the new. Zach had mentioned in the chat that he had just come back from a little vacation, so that's exactly what he's doing. He's taking a breath, and he's ready to get his vision for where he's going. It's great. Absolutely great. Little message there for you, Zach.
All right. Anyone else so far? All right. I'm going to pull 3 cards.
Okay.
At random. The first card is Sacred Obligations. It's number 31. Am I on? Yeah, I'm on. Okay. Service to self and others is the suit. Sacred Obligations, card number 31. Sacred obligations are those things that we need to do. We're obligated. And as far as ICMH goes, our 5 sacred obligations are do no harm, do right, reclaim your power. That's a big one. Take your power back. It's like with free will. If we don't assume or embrace our free will, we give it away to others. If we don't take our power back, we give it away to others. The third one is attune your life leadership paragon. Pay it forward is number 4, and deliver your greatness is number 5. So those are sacred obligations that we have. Basically, be us. Be who you are is a sacred obligation. The next one, and I shuffled this deck, and a communication came back up, number 41. Don't know how that happens, but it does. Communication is what we just talked about. So, and the third one is number 43, expediency. That means figure out, look at all these different things. Sacred obligations, That means be who you are, walk your own path, in essence, doesn't it? It means get rid of the blocks, and to do that, be expedient about it. In other words, let's get on with it. I don't want to know all the reasons why you can't. I want to know all the reasons why you can. If you know your direction, be about it. Don't make excuses. Don't hold yourself back. Just move one foot in front of the other and be about getting on your path. That's what we have to do. You can't wait for everything to be just so in order for you to embark on your calling. So, sacred obligations, communication, expediency, use those together. Any thoughts, Dr. Hunter?
You know, I would just add in there that with the communication is to speak on your own behalf. If you don't speak up and have your own voice to share who you are, then you're not being really loyal to yourself, to be honest. It's speak on your own behalf. So there's always, you know, I love that, you know, if it's a matter of preference, yield. If it's a matter of principle or law, you stand firm. But as you're moving forward and declaring yourself, you have to be able to, you know, say who you are. And it doesn't mean you have to go and give everybody your whole life. It's just in an appropriate manner, speak on your own behalf.
Okay, good. I'm going to pick one more random card. This is, how does this happen? One planet, one race, one ancestry, one destiny. 35. Did I not shuffle these 2 or 3 times? And then I just reached in here and I grabbed one. So this must be a theme tonight. This must be for someone, something, get you thinking. That's what amazes me about these cards. Maybe it's me. Maybe, you know, and I'm thinking, okay, well, what does that mean to me? Well, gee, that's what I preach, so it must be right. If I came up with it, it must be right? Duh. All right. We appreciate everyone's... Oh, you want to go ahead and comment?
Sorry, I would like to, actually. You know, for all the 40 years I've been reading the tarot, I'm amazed at how many different ways the same card, it's like you got a better chance of winning the lotto when you think of 78 cards. And the same cards would come up again and again. And it's that frequency, right? It's that message that it's being really determined. And I'm always like, okay, why can't you help me pick the lotto numbers if you can be so, you know, so bold that way? You know, can I just read a little bit of this line with One Planet, One Race? Because I think it would be important, you know, as we sign off for this month, leave this with everyone. Divine energy lives in all things. You know, it's no matter what you believe mentally in your beliefs, whether it's some form of, you know, religion or otherwise, just know that divine energy does live in all things. That's what connects us all. Diversity in nature and among humanity is not an evolutionary mistake. It's an evolutionary constant, and we're always growing. So this card advocates equality, peace, unity, healthy life skills, higher consciousness, and spiritual enlightenment. So that is the One Planet Accord.
Very good. All right. Again, appreciate everyone being here tonight. Don't forget, we're taking the month of July off, so you won't see us again until August 5th. We'll send out an email when we're, you know, going to be coming back. Put it on the website close to that time, the topics that we'll be having next month, or in August, I shall say. Dr. Wilson will return. We also have previous speakers and a new speaker that we're going to schedule. Some interesting stuff going on, so hope you'll join us then. Until next month, then, listen, learn, think, learn, grow, and live, as always. Again, thanks so much. Thanks to Michael Kelley for engineering this, and we look forward to seeing everyone next time. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.